Story 1. I lived in Portland for a few years, and they do not fluoridate their water supply. A dentist I know told me they can easily tell who grew up in Portland versus outside the city because their teeth are usually in worse shape as adults. Story 2. This is what happened in Calgary, Alberta, after they removed fluoride from the water in 2011. A decade later, the city is reconsidering its decision and plans to add fluoride back to the water supply. Story 3. Dentist here. This will disproportionately affect children. Their enamel is considerably thinner, and the pulp or nerve is relatively larger than that of adult teeth. Cavities will form more quickly and can reach the nerve faster. Many children suffer from dental infections and pain. If baby teeth are extracted, adult teeth may become crowded, potentially leading to severe orthodontic issues that can result in the loss of adult teeth due to severe misalignment or failure to erupt. Dental infections in baby teeth can also impact the formation of adult teeth, causing dark spots or even poorly formed enamel if the infection is positioned correctly. This situation will also disproportionately affect low-income families. When Medicaid is cut, they have no means to address these issues. For adult teeth, decay will occur more frequently and rapidly. Fillings and crowns will fail more often. The average lifespan of a filling or crown is about 8 to 12 years, which is likely to decrease to around 6 years. Fluoride works through equilibrium chemistry. Adding fluoride to the process increases the amount of finished product, meaning greater protection for teeth against acid. Without fluoride, the reaction reverses, leading to a loss of protection. The fluoride ion replaces a hydroxyl group in hydroxyapatite crystals, making enamel 10 times more resistant to acid. A mouth lacking fluoride has a critical pH of 5.5. When the pH falls below this level, hydroxyapatite crystals begin to dissolve. Plaque accumulates bacteria that ferment sugars into lactic acid, worsening the situation. Over time, the bacteria can bore through the enamel, creating a cavity that requires a filling once it penetrates the enamel layer. Consistent fluoride use forms fluoroapatite, which has a critical point of 4.5 pH, providing 10 times greater resistance to acid. Saliva has a buffering capacity, so increased resistance to acid helps to quickly restore the pH above the critical point. The significant benefit is that once the pH surpasses the critical point, the enamel can remineralize, provided the damage has not penetrated completely. Fluoride does not require a large dose but makes a substantial difference in oral health. Research has shown links between oral health and overall body health. Story 4. The community will not immediately see the harmful effects, but in the coming years, decay will increase significantly. Unfortunately, this will primarily impact the low-income population. Story 5. I grew up in a city in the United States that does not fluoridate its water. I had terrible teeth and struggled with cavities for the first 26 years of my life, despite maintaining good dental hygiene. I moved to a city that fluoridates its water a few years ago and haven't had a single cavity since. Do with that what you will. Story 6. Here's the too literal answer. Previous research indicates that without optimal levels of fluoride in drinking water, and thus in the mouth and saliva, teeth may form with weaker enamel and lack the ability to remineralize, early signs of decay. Story 7. I live in Utah and think it's the most frustrating situation. However, members of our legislature have also proposed the idea of cutting down trees to preserve water, which is typical for our politicians. Can we put responsible leaders back in charge yet? My patience can't handle real-life absurdity. Story 8. My friend lives in a community where there is fluoride in the water, and she uses a special filter to remove it. Her 2 school-aged children have had many cavities. I understand that genetics plays a role, but so does fluoride. Story 9. Some states, like Hawaii, have not added fluoride to the water, even if it is not formally banned at the state level. This has resulted in a higher rate of dental issues. Story 10. Oh, come to my city in Oregon and find out. I'll give you a hint. It's children getting more cavities. Story 11. We don't need to guess. Utah is the first state to ban it, but attempts have been made at the local level many times. The results are always the same. Significantly worse dental health outcomes, especially among the poor, and absolutely no change in cancer rates or any of the other unfounded fears that the anti-science group claims about fluoride. Story 12. I doubt it will last decades. Buffalo, New York removed fluoridation in 2015 and just resumed it this fall after a significant increase in children's tooth decay. I recall reading that there was a large increase in cavities, but I realize this article doesn't mention that, and I cannot find one right now that discusses the effects. However, there is a class action lawsuit, and they are requesting compensation for damages. Story 13. In Finland, fluoride was tested in a few cities from 1960 to 1990. They did not find any meaningful benefits, so they stopped. Now, in some cities, they are actively filtering it out. Fluoride is available in toothpaste and some other oral care products. A study noted that the top 5 countries for dental health are Denmark, Germany, Finland, Sweden, and the United Kingdom, with the United States ranked 9th. Among these top 5, the United Kingdom is the only country adding fluoride to the water, affecting about 10% of the population. If you examine this objectively, it seems that this should be the right approach. Canada's healthcare issues are likely not connected to fluoride. Story 14. We haven't had fluoride in the water since the 1970s in the Netherlands, and things are fine. Just brush your teeth. Americans are unusual for having it in the first place. Story 15. I believe that in 20 to 25 years, the states with Democratic leadership in the United States will have populations that are generally healthier, better educated, and less impoverished. Story 16. I'm going to be downvoted, but here in Europe, nothing is added to the drinking water and we are just fine. The first priority should always be to do no harm, and evidence indicates that fluoride, outside of its role in preventing cavities, can actually cause harm. This alone should get you thinking. What is the bigger issue? Tooth cavities or obesity? Can we improve dental health in other ways, such as promoting toothbrushing in schools or providing better training and access to proper toothpaste for those in need? Fluoride is not free, so that money could likely be spent more effectively elsewhere while avoiding potential harm from adding it to drinking water. Similar programs promoting reduced sugar consumption and improving school lunches to include real food, rather than ultra-processed carbohydrate-rich items, are clearly beneficial for both dental and overall health. The United States heavily emphasizes personal freedom, including the right to bear arms. Here, the focus has been more on the importance of choice and self-responsibility. This applies to fortified flour as well. It is undesirable. It is not surprising that health outcomes are significantly worse in the US compared to Europe, given the issues present in the food supply. The practice of adding fluoride to drinking water originated from the belief that it should help with dental health and was readily available as a waste product. This provided an easy way to dispose of waste by feeding it to the general public. It's similar to what happened with seed oils, which were so plentiful that the industrial sector could not use all of it. Thus, it was repurposed for human consumption, creating a profit. Just because these ideas come from individuals with questionable motives, likely profit-driven, does not mean they are inherently bad and should be rejected outright. In fact, people should be given choices. I work in technology and could likely earn 2 to 3 times as much in the US, but this alone is a reason not to consider moving there. Yes, it may seem like a contradiction, but with the current government, it is out of the question. Just because they manage to get one thing right does not mean I support them or believe they are good. Story 17. There is no difference for the wealthy who were not consuming it initially, but it is much worse for underprivileged children who will have significantly poorer dental health and may never be able to afford treatment. It is truly sad. Story 18. A group is malnourished due to the high levels of ultra-processed foods in their diet, living in a theocratic state, but now with damaged teeth. Story 19. I am in Utah, and while I would have preferred they not ban it, very few countries add fluoride to water. This mostly means we need to ensure we use fluoridated toothpaste. Story 20. I don't think it's as significant as you all believe. Many European countries have taken similar actions, perhaps the entire European Union. I understand that there is frustration about it being pushed by individuals against vaccinations, but it is somewhat insignificant. Just maintain good dental hygiene, and you will get enough fluoride. Story 21. If Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gets his way, there will soon be a national ban. Additionally, I heard that approximately 13 other states plan to follow suit. Story 22. They did this in a city near me, and in 5 years toddlers had their baby teeth rotting out of their mouths. There is so much sugar in our diet today, even if you try to avoid it, it is much more than our ancestors ever had. As usual, this will disproportionately affect poor and neglected children compared to the rest of the population. Story 23. Does anyone in Utah actually drink tap water? When I lived in the West, tap water was used for showers, flushing, and watering the lawn. For drinking and cooking, it was all store-bought in bottles. Story 24. Just ask Portland, Oregon. I'm almost 44 years old, and I've never had fluoridated water, except when I travel, as we keep voting against it. For the record, I always vote for fluoride. I don't know why it never passes. I brush twice a day and floss daily, plus as needed if there's something between my teeth. Every tooth has at least one filling. I have had 4 root canals and 1 tooth extracted. I'm not in the minority in Portland when it comes to oral health. It's expensive, painful, and frustrating. My dentists have all stressed the importance of toothpaste with fluoride, but it's not really enough with modern diets where sugar is added to everything. Much of the food and beverages we consume are acidic and often also very sweet. My most recent dentist just moved here from the Midwest, and he said he's never seen anything like this. Everyone's teeth here are in poor condition. Most of the time they look fine, but upon inspection, he almost never sees a patient who doesn't need dental work. Story 25. Hawaii has not had fluoride in its drinking water for decades. I have a toddler, and the hospital provided me with a prescription for a fluoridated multivitamin to add to his diet. Story 26. In completely unrelated news, Utah Republicans, for unknown reasons, are investing significant amounts of money in major dental surgeries throughout Utah. Story 27. Go to Florida and see how many people don't have teeth. This is partly because Florida refused to take the Medicaid expansion or pay for dental care for adults who do have Medicaid. Additionally, the lack of fluoride doesn't help. In Florida, it's a county decision. Our dentist prescribes fluoride supplements and rinses. Story 28. Utah will have people with many cavities. Water fluoridation began in some parts of the United States in 1945 after scientists noted that people living in areas with higher water fluoride levels had fewer cavities. This is the primary reason fluoride was added to water. Every other reason is a conspiracy theory. Since fluoride has a negative charge, it combines with calcium and phosphate to form a compound called fluorapatite. This compound is much stronger than simple calcium and phosphate, meaning that your teeth will be more resistant to the bacterial acid erosion that causes cavities. The decision to add fluoride to water was based on observations of which areas of the United States had the most cavities and which had the least. It has nothing to do with mind control or any other unfounded ideas. Story 29. I grew up in a rural area where most people relied on well water. Very few of my schoolmates had access to municipal water. Many families lived in poverty and lacked access to dental care. My best friend had 12 cavities at 16 years old. He didn't take care of his teeth until he started working and living independently. Now, in our mid-30s, he's losing teeth, starting with his back molars. I've encountered other people from high school when I return home, and it's evident that many of them have also lost teeth. We are not even 40 yet. Not everyone has the financial resources or the training for proper dental care. Fluoride can truly be life-changing for children. Story 30. Not much will happen. I grew up without fluoride in the water. You just need to make sure you brush your teeth properly. I use a toothpaste with a high fluoride content, which is likely better than consuming fluoride continuously. Story 31. In Alberta, one city discovered that it only took a few years for young children to show up at the dentist with cavities. Most people I know who raised kids with fluoridated water never had to deal with cavities in their children. We also had dental plans. The people who will be hurt the most by this are those who cannot afford dental care to begin with. Story 32. It is easy to find evidence. Just look at other states that do not have it, like Hawaii. Children face more dental issues and show no noticeable increase in cognitive ability or any other benefits they believe they are gaining from this. Story 33. Fewer cavities? Probably not. More dental bills? Almost certainly. It is surprising to see a state reverse decades of public health progress based on misinformation. Dentists in Utah are likely already preparing for the inevitable increase in preventable issues, especially in low-income communities where access to dental care is already limited. This feels like a step backward disguised as personal choice. Story 34. If you just graduated from dental school, you might want to consider moving to Utah. There will be plenty of business opportunities in a few years. Story 35. If you didn't have so much sugar in everything like bread and basic items, then you probably wouldn't need this in your water. Story 36. I would like to open a dental office specializing in dentures and implants. I just need to attend dental school. Story 37. People will develop tooth decay. It is prevalent among lower-income individuals who lack the resources for proper dental care. Story 38. Soda consumption is already quite high in Utah since coffee is not an option for most of the population. It is about to increase significantly. Story 39. Mormon dentists were excited to hear that they can have a second trip to Tuscany this year. Story 40. I am not against fluoride, but there are several countries, such as Germany and the Netherlands, that do not add fluoride to their drinking water. Instead, they rely on fluoride in toothpaste and have experienced similar improvements in overall dental health over the last few decades. Attributing the combined effects of vastly improved dental health care over the last century to a single measure is overly simplistic. The motivation behind this viewpoint is clearly anti-science. Story 41. Is this supposed to be some political trap? I grew up in a house with well water that wasn't fluoridated. I'm in my 30s, and I've never had a cavity. Fluoride is already in toothpaste, so it's really not necessary to fluoridate water. Sorry to rain on your criticism of Utah, but it seems like they might be smarter than you on this one. Story 42. I used to live in Victoria, British Columbia, for a couple of years. They do not have any fluoride in their water. Everyone I knew had teeth that were basically rotting away. Portland, Oregon, does not have fluoride in their water either. There is something known as Portland mouth in the local dental community. Anti-fluoride advocates often mention how many parts of Europe do not use fluoride in their water as a talking point. After researching, I found that it is because their water naturally contained it already. Story 43. Not sure. I don't think the effects of this will be seen for a while, though. Edit. You all realize toothpaste is a thing. Story 44. They will probably add it back in less than a decade. The rationale is that this country does not add fluoride. Well, that's because it has a high enough amount in the water naturally that they don't need to. Oh, well, this country doesn't add it either. Oh, because they do not put it in the water, they put it in the salt. This is one of the worst decisions in history. I hope the change negatively impacts their water distribution infrastructure and costs them billions. Story 45. There are many places in the United States that lack fluoridated water, and it is well known that teeth suffer as a result. I was just discussing this with my dentist the other day. Story 46. Smart people are already providing their children with fluoride treatments at home. Some will follow suit in the future. I grew up on a farm, and we did not have fluoride in the water. I now mostly have crowns on my upper teeth after years of fillings and broken teeth. However, I have consumed a lot of soda, so I'm not sure which factors are to blame for my dental issues. Story 47. Isn't fluoride considered industrial waste? And is it cheaper to dilute it in water than to dispose of it in an environmentally friendly manner? Story 48. Fluorine was added to water at different times. Nowadays, your toothpaste already contains it, and you should be visiting the dentist every 6 months anyway, so it's not as terrible as some people make it seem. Story 49. In my city, there is no fluoride added to the water. It has never contained fluoride. My house is on a private well, and we have not had fluoride for over 10 years. Surprisingly, neither my wife, my children, nor I have had any cavities. The people in town are not toothless. There is no need to be ingesting fluoride at all. You are all victims of misinformation. Story 50. Cavity rates decreased for decades but began to increase again in the 1990s. Interestingly, this increase was observed only in children from affluent households, while cavity rates continued to decrease in children from low-income households. This trend is surprising, as health outcomes typically correlate directly with wealth. The reason? Children from low-income households were still drinking tap water, while children from affluent households had started drinking filtered and bottled water. Story 51. I live in the country, and early on, my daughter's pediatrician told us we needed fluoride tablets because we have well water. I buy toothpaste with fluoride on purpose because trace amounts are important for dental health. If people want to remove fluoride from water and toothpaste, dentists will thrive, unless they are individuals with unconventional lifestyles. Story 52. Science is not a religious text written 1,000 years ago that cannot be challenged. 80 years ago, it made sense to add fluoride to water due to the availability of fluoride toothpaste, dental practices, and the number of children who consumed fluoridated water. Today, the addition of fluoride to billions of gallons of water, hoping that less than 1% that reaches teeth might be beneficial, is unreasonable. It's important to remember that this program began around the same time we were using DDT and incorporating asbestos into various products. This money would be better spent providing low-income families with toothpaste and brushes or on educational programs in schools. Story 53. A return of Utah mouth has led to significant increases in cavities and gingivitis. Bridges and crowns are needed for most of the remaining teeth. I have witnessed this firsthand with my parents. Story 54. We do not use fluoride in the water here in Japan. As long as people brush their teeth, they will be fine. Story 55. Fun fact. We actually remove more fluoride from the water than we add. Many people switch to well water without realizing that their well water contains more fluoride than tap water. Story 56. It will look no different because none of us drink tap water. Basically, everyone drinks bottled water or has fridge or Brita purifiers. Story 57. What a boon for dentists. They can sell fluoride treatments to people who understand science, fill cavities, and make crowns for those who do not. Story 58. The most amusing part is that they are obsessed with sugar in that state. There will be many beautiful blondes with rotten teeth. Story 59. We already know what this will look like. Calgary removed fluoride in 2011. I will let you research how that ended. Story 60. To my understanding, fluoride naturally occurs in water. We add a bit more to combat tooth decay. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.